Teachers of Reddit. What's the weirdest thing a student answered to? Tell me a fun fact about yourself? I had a student tell me that sometimes his dad got drunk and asked his mom for things, as I was starting to tell him he didn't need to elaborate any further. He continued with, "Like soup," and he yells it like, "Soup?" It took every bit of restraint to not laugh. It's been years and years since that happened, but I still laugh when I think about it. I teach middle school. This one still takes the cake. That his mom and dad have the same parents. I asked him to clarify because I didn't understand what he was saying, and he said, "I only have one set of grandparents. They had the same parents." I quickly moved to the next student so no one else would realize that this kid just told the class that his parents were siblings. I talked to him about it the next day in private, and he said that he got it mixed up. His parents don't have the exact same parents. They shared a dad. I felt so much better when the mom called me to let me know her elderly stepfather married her husband's elderly mother. Still weird, but much better. My arm is fucked, y'all. In the deepest southern drawl, and proceeded to wildly swing his fucked up arm around. He was 12, had Erb's palsy, and also got detention that day. He might be one of my fav students. Opposite side of the classroom. But on day one of class, our professor spent most of the time talking about himself, his mental health, and how he was friendly with students. While he didn't say anything specifically creepy, the more he talked, the more put off I was. It just seemed deeper than a "get to know you as the first time I'm meeting you" speech should have gone. It was an intro to research class, and I already had research experience, so I got permission to waive it and I dropped the class. Later learned he killed his previous top girlfriend before killing himself. Not a teacher, but this happened when I was 17 at school camp during a bonding exercise. Teacher: tell us 2 truths and 1 lie about yourself, and we have to guess the lie. Weird kid: I play PlayStation, I like Doritos, and I am an alcoholic. The teacher: the lie is you are an alcoholic. Weird kid: got you. I play Xbox. My god, the look on the teacher's face. Student told me that there is a chapter dedicated to him in a dental surgery textbook because of a very rare disorder that he had as a child. I may still have that essay. A student: not a teacher. But once we were going around a circle during percussion camp in the front ensemble, and my teacher goes, "Hello everyone. My name is underscore 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 underscore, and I have shit my pants as an adult." Definitely one of the weirder ones I've heard. During an introductory activity for my new class, a boy, aged 9, got up and said, "My dog has to wear a cone on its head because dad had his bollocks cut off." During French class, a guy in my class said that he liked stabbing children. He meant that he fences, but didn't know the exact translation for that. Kid in my kindergarten class said, "My pee-pee fell off at Disneyland." I didn't ask any follow-up questions. I was an ESL teacher in Indonesia, and a student once told me every morning she cleaned the shit on her bed. I asked her to clarify. Worried she had a serious digestive issue. She answered, "I brush my teeth, wash face, and clean bed shit. Bed sheet." Not a teacher, but I was a helper in a middle school classroom. A young girl, who seemed uninterested, said, with no hesitation, that she can chug an entire bottle of beer. She got expelled later that year for keeping drugs in her locker. I teach ESL, and every lesson we start the class by sharing something good that happened to us over the last week or so. Needless to say, kids share the most random things ever. I have many weird stories because of that. We enforce a rule that they need to share good things so they don't start one-upping each other over whose grandma had the worst death. Lol. One day, a student said, "I was riding my bike over the weekend when I fell. I could see where it was going but didn't have enough time to enforce the rule when he just spat out. I fell over a wired fence and cut my neck. It just kept gushing blood. A lot of blood." I reminded him that we were only sharing good news when he said, "It's good because I'm still alive." I had a good laugh and agreed, but the damage was done. Every kid after him wanted to share about the most horrific injury they had or witnessed. I am not a teacher, but this guy in my class named Shane has this medical condition that causes him to grow tons of hair at an early age. Full beard in middle school. He would say, "I'm Shane and I'm very hairy. My dad clogged the toilet this morning and that's why I'm feeling frustrated." Minus 5-year-old child. I will say the question was, "How are you doing this morning?" But I could barely keep from laughing out loud. In the context of having students introduce themselves one by one to a new boy in a small high school class. A girl said her parents got her a nose job and a boob job. A student once told my wife that her daddy had a special device that he had to blow into to start his truck. Not a teacher, but I just did a first aid course. During introductions, say your name and one fact about yourself. Dude says proudly he once had over 300K of unpaid parking tickets. Not a teacher, but in 3rd grade, we would do this weekly. How was your weekend? Sort of thing where we'd sit in a circle and share. This one girl casually goes, I found out that my biological father didn't want me. In a super nonchalant tone and everything. I still remember the awkward tension. Not me, but my brother. He told the teacher, last night my family ate beaver for dinner. I was much older and had left home by then. The class laughed. The teacher accused him of lying. The principal was brought into this and my mother had to go in for a meeting. She chewed them up one side and down the other because we had a cousin who was a trapper and he had sent a batch of beaver thighs for the family to enjoy. Although my brother was telling the truth, he told me later that he did say that for the effect. Disrupting the class. That he has been to juvie multiple times and is currently on probation. Then he pulled up his pants enough that everyone could see his ankle monitor. That was something. Not a teacher. But a few years ago on the first day of school, this kid in one of my classes casually answered, I have a restraining order on my dad. I said my dad steals cars. It was something my parents always told us growing up as a joke. The teacher just laughed and said, that's nice. We did one of those 2 truths 1 lie bits. Girl stands up and says, I've never been out of the country. I'm a twin. I love playing sports. I knew this girl beforehand and knew she didn't have a twin. So picked that one. Nope. She had a conjoined twin that died in utero and had to be surgically removed, and she's now missing the last vertebrae on her spine. Showed us the scar and everything. Apparently the lie was the first one, as she'd been to Mexico. In my public speaking class at a community college, we had to get up and do a speech about an experience that really changed our lives or an important memory and how it made us who we are. On the first day, a guy who was a veteran volunteered to go first. He proceeded to talk about the day he was captured and sexually assaulted by enemy soldier and how he now goes around and helps other soldiers with the Wounded Warrior Project. It was difficult for anybody to follow that. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. My friend is really quiet. He doesn't really talk unless talked to. He's really cool though and has some things he enjoys doing. Literally 2nd year I knew him, the teacher asked this and he said he's a professional bowler with a 300 best. And I was like, why haven't you told me this? That's amazing. I guess it just never came up. Haha. Knew him for a whole year and never knew that. Had students, aged 11, sharing strategies for dealing with difficult emotions. One at a time in a big circle. One girl talked about digging her nails into her face whenever she was feeling stressed or anxious. And I had to explain to the class why self-harm was not a good coping strategy. I've had my hand up a sheep's bum. Shocked me slightly. Child of a farming family. Helping with lambing season. I found my dad who hung himself. 1. A 5th grader. Someone in a class once told everyone about how his grandparents were arrested for keep a bunch of adopted children in cages. He said that he used to play with the kids when he was young, but he was too young to understand that the conditions they were in weren't normal. They kept kids in cages and locked in rooms for years before they were discovered and arrested. Yup. Fun fact. Edit. I'm not a teacher. This person who told the story was in a class with me as a young adult. When I was in my first year at university, my law and society professor made each student get up, say his/her name and tell why they picked law school. Well, a guy got up, said his name, and the professor interrupted him by asking, Anon, are you related to X? The guy, yes professor. He is my grandfather. Then the professor got excited and started talking about what grade of a guy the 10th is and that he haven't heard of him in years. Then the professor asked how he was. Anon replied, he is dead, sir. The whole class was trying to hold the laughter. It pretty much broke the class that first day. In my psychology class, we were talking about the early signs of serial killers, and the quietest girl who never spoke told the story of when she lived in Chicago. She had a friend around 5th grade who would always stomp on baby birds and once put his hamster in the microwave. Well, his parents were having difficulty keeping up with his antics, so they sent him to his grandmother's, who he promptly stabbed to death when she woke him up for school. So that was interesting. I was in one of the first small required classes for my teaching degree, and everyone in the class was studying to teach. It was day 2 or 3 and we were doing a get to know you activity where we share something about ourselves. I don't remember the exact question, but it had something to do with what you regret take back. A guy came in late. When almost everyone has answers the question. And the professor asked him the questions and he thought for a moment and said, "I regret letting my friend talking me into dropping acid." The class was silent for a good 20 seconds until the professor said, "Maybe next time we only share things that are legal." I hadn't seen him in any other teacher classes since. Still laugh about it to this day. I tried to make conversation with a 6th grade boy who didn't have any friends in my class. I asked him what music he listens to and he said, "Mukbang soundscapes." If you don't know, mukbang is when people eat a ridiculous amount of food in one setting.